One of the things in this film is there's a lot of subtle animation. There's not a lot of really cartoony animation. It brings believability to the characters.
We have a brilliant art director who had the idea to give the backgrounds of the film a painterly look to soften it. And what happens there is it gives the film this warm, kind of lived-in look, and it makes it much more comfortable.
People became so passionate about the way the film was looking that they continued to just put all of their heart and soul into trying to make every shot be as beautiful as it could be. Paul Felix is the art director on the movie, and he's been here for probably 15 or 20 years, and he's really steeped in Disney history. And when he had this opportunity to do a CG film, actually working in the computer, the one thing he wanted to do was kind of bring our heritage and history of painting backgrounds into the computer.
It goes back a few years. When we first started on the project, we would try to find something that looked more like the tradition of Disney backgrounds here, where visual information is edited out, so you can really concentrate on the action and on the characters.
When Paul was starting to think about this painterly look, the idea was then who are we going to model it after? And so they actually looked at a lot of different artists just to get a sense of what do American painters do when they're making paintings of the landscapes or of small towns.
Having decided the kind of painterly look that we were going for in the film, we did a lot of visual development with those painting ideas in mind.
The very first test we did was we wanted to put a CG object into an actual painting, a flat painting. And the train car itself, the train engine and all the cars are actual CG 3D models that the camera can fly around. But the environment we put it in is a completely flat 2D painting.
One of our tests where all our techniques came together for the first time was a diner test.
And we did a big camera move up and over to reveal this diner car. In the computer, everything's perfect. And so as a result, when you see an image, absolutely everything's in focus, equally in focus, which isn't the way our eyes actually work. So what we did was create a technology that allows us to take physical brush strokes and have that work in the computer. And it was really that third test that John Lasseter, when he saw it, ultimately told us we can actually make this work on the level of making a movie.
If you look at some of these buildings in the background, which are actually CG, you can see the brush strokes hanging off these buildings. Typically in CG, you see tens of thousands of uniquely rendered bricks, and we really wanted to approach it much more like a painter would, where they might represent hundreds of bricks with a few brush strokes, and then just add details that are bricks where you wanted people to focus.
One of the things, and John Lasseter talks about all the time, is believability. So he really wanted both Paul Felix and Adolphe to take trips across the country to understand how is light different in New York versus the middle of Ohio versus Las Vegas and even Los Angeles.
Was it 1,200 miles in 2 days?
Yeah.
We just raced along trying to capture as much of the local lighting conditions that we could find and what the small towns look like, the details that we could use in our film.
It was this trailer park that you went down an embankment from the road and drove into the trailer park, and then on the other side was this river going along it, and it just had a really nice feel to it.
And they took such great reference, and they were able to recreate spookily the exact lighting of Ohio. It feels weird, like people from Ohio say, this looks like Ohio.
There's your antidote. Food.
And then when you go to the Vegas shots, you look at those shots and you go, that feels like the desert.
When we were taking the photos, it was 108 degrees outside, and you could just see the heat rippling, off everything. So that's something we actually, captured in the movie, was that bleakness.
Bask in the glow, baby. Just let me give you the grand tour, okay?
And they went to New York as well, and really captured that special sort of diffused lighting that you get in the city there.
There were some really amazing lighting conditions we hadn't anticipated, like sunlight reflecting on windows, which reflect back down into the shadow part of the streets. And that was really just like a nice piece of information that made it seem more real.
And when you get to LA, it has another specific type of lighting. And we basically created a story that's very difficult to do in computer animation because they were forced to go from location to location to location. And so that's each one of those puts more demands on our design and lighting teams. Yeah. And they really were up to the challenge, and every location looks fantastic.
And then there's the whole notion of both television show world and the real world.
it was definitely a goal to really have a specific look for the TV show.
Well, the contrast he wanted to draw was to make his television show world feel almost like a Michael Bay movie.
This very contrasty sort of action type TV show, very deep blacks, very bright colors, and that contrasts the real world, which is much more desaturated and natural and kind of worn and comfortable.
Visually, it is one of the most strikingly beautiful movies I've ever seen. I mean, it's just so lush and gorgeous and just multifaceted. There's just, you could watch it over and over and over again and see different things.
It brings it back to a place where when you as an audience member go, you see it as a real world, which is about believability, which is something we really wanted to achieve.
It's great to kind of marry this really textural feel to the textures, this painterly texture, to this kind of photoreal lighting.
What's nice is it's kind of bringing back what Disney always cherished about the type of work that was being done in the studio. So it's a nice blend of technology and the kind of handcrafted nature of 2D animation. Because if we've done our job correctly, you're actually looking and following the story and the characters and not paying attention to the rest of the world. It just becomes a world, a soft world that the characters are living in.